My adventure with energy solutions didn't start with university studies because I'm not an engineer. It didn't start with some inspired TED talk either. It simply began with the birth of my daughter. When she was born, we decided to quit the city and rented an old wooden house in Polish mountains by the forest. Local people living in their modern houses look at us with a mixture of compassion and wonder. Are you really going to spend winter in this place? Bad luck, it was one of the coldest winters I remember. We had -35 outside and a pure ice on the floor in our bathroom. Thanks to this cold upbringing, my daughter is a very sturdy girl now, and I ended up managing projects that bring people energy-efficient solutions. One autumn, we had massive snowfall, quite early in the season, when the trees were still green, they had plenty of leaves, and branches could not withstand the weight. It started breaking off, affecting power lines that were crossing the forest. The village was cut off electricity for several days. Our neighbors living in their modern houses were complaining a lot. We have no water, pumps were not functioning. We cannot warm up the house. We cannot cook, we cannot take baths. We were fine in our old wooden house, which was built during times when people didn't have access to modern devices and had to rely on smart solutions. Water was flowing from the source located above the house, under the gravity itself. We could warm up the house on the traditional wood burner, as well as cook on it at the same time. You should have seen faces of our neighbors when we were inviting them, come over, you can warm up in our place. This first-hand experience showed me what resilience really means. It is all about minimizing our dependence on external systems, thanks to intelligent designs. Speaking of green energy, one can say it is any type of energy generated from natural resources such as solar, wind, or hydropower, so frequently in use in Tajikistan, or something else, tidal waves, biomass, constant soil temperature, you can name it. The key with these resources is that they are self-replenishing and non-polluting sources. But you can divide them into passive energy solutions and active ones. The difference lies in fact in efficiency. How efficiently can you transform available energy sources and how much it would cost you? Passive solutions do not involve complex technology. They are simple, cheap, durable, and focus on locally available resources like this black barrel that I use for warming up water. Active solutions rely heavily on high-tech in order to make the most of available natural resources to amplify them, like this solar water heater. No doubt it is more efficient than the black barrel in warming up water, but it also costs around $2,000. Can people in the villages around afford it? Perhaps simple passive solutions are sufficient for them. These are important questions to ask instead of just following blindly market offer. This is the field of rye that my daughter enjoyed herself so much. It is also a building material of my house, the straw bale house. My neighbors were harvesting, leaving the straw they didn't need behind, and we pressed it into bales and built a straw bale house out of it. I was brave enough, or perhaps a little bit naive, to experiment with a dome-shaped straw bale house without a roof in the country where you have quite a lot of rain. Straw bale is a brilliant material for walls because it's healthy, warm, breathable, environmental friendly, but not for the house like this without a roof in Poland. So we ended up living first 2 years under the foil, very eco-friendly, before I gathered enough mental force to build a roof over it. No professional builder wanted to take up the challenge because when you build such a structure, you should bind it from inside, and there was a dome in there. So you had to come up with some smart solution, self-tightening structure. At the end, it was me with diploma in finance and my friend with diploma in IT who did it. And actually looking at the complexity of some of the joints, I would say that our education was right in place. And believe it or not, but after that experience I became respected carpenter in the village with job offers coming along. After all these moments of despair and the moments of bliss when we overcame seemingly impossible challenges, we ended up having an extremely warm house at the price of the garage. And this skylight over there is actually inspired by a Pamiri house. And we have built it using wood of a tree, very flexible tree that grows in our forest.
The fact that our house was so thermally efficient lies in thickness of wall. In other words, it is well insulated. This is what we promote here in Tajikistan, calling it low energy consumption house. Don't worry, I'm not pushing anyone to build a dome-shaped house here. We are just highlighting certain principles which, if followed, can bring people benefits, such as orientation of the house versus sun, using overhang to make the most of sunrise depending on the season, installing double glazed windows, insulation, especially ceiling insulation, and not using certain building materials like concrete blocks. Some of these principles for you living in cold climate are pretty obvious. Your parents or grandparents used them when they were building their houses. But when you come closer to Dushanbe, when you are in warmer area, it is not so obvious. And people during Soviet period didn't think much about energy efficiency. They could buy more cheap coal and burn it and make themselves comfortable. Now it's changing, and it has to change for the sake of our environment. We should look at all designs, sometimes ancient designs, on how to harness the power of nature. This is a passive solar veranda, which warms up the house in winter, but also provides additional living space for the families. As you can see, you have to buy plastic sheeting on the market, but the rest of the construction can be probably found locally. There are interesting cultural factors at play here. When my colleagues in Afghanistan were promoting solar verandas, one day they came to the field and they realized there are many verandas they didn't build. It was the best proof of the concept, the fact that communities started replicating their idea. But in Tajikistan, people wanted to have it modern, to have it, to upgrade the look, external look of their house. And we ended up with some more durable structure, but also quite costly, beyond affordability for poor people. And also, because of this, we cannot see such a rate of replication as we have seen in Afghanistan. This is a similar concept. It's a passive solar greenhouse, a great way of extending growing season for farmers in a country where you have 300 days of sunlight. And in this case, people fortunately do not pay attention to the design. They just focus on efficiency. Speaking of cultural factors, I remember when we moved to the village in Poland and started all these experiments with organic farming and sustainable buildings. Our neighbors were very curious, also very helpful, sometimes perhaps laughed a little bit behind our backs, but they never replicated of what we were doing. We were growing our veggies organically. They were still spraying chemicals in their gardens. Our cow was outside in winter during warmer days. Their cows were kept closed until 10th of May because this is a date when they let them out normally. And I could say that the power of habits is really strong. Until this is a root zone wastewater filtration plant, otherwise called a biofilter. It's nothing new. It's based on the ancient concept of using wetlands for water purification. And you have to buy some plastic tubes to dissipate your sewage, but quite a lot of things can be found locally, such as sand. Doesn't mean that you have to bring the sand from outside. You have to do it with spade. You rely on technology like a truck, as well as some dry biomass from the forest. And this is fully functional biofilter. This plant is an energetic willow, and its roots make this whole magic of water purification. But there are more benefits. This plant has a very high calorific value, so you can actually cut it, dry it, and use it as for your wood burner to warm up the house. It has also very high nutritional value, so I sometimes let my herd of goats to enjoy them. But this is not the reason why my neighbors replicated this concept. The reason is actually lies in their pocket, because this thing, once it is operational, it can go on for 100 years, 100 years without a soil change. And don't think it's a solution only for a smallholder farmer like me. It's the largest one I know of, was built in Moldova and serves 20,000 inhabitants. So a small town, almost the size of Chorog, can be connected to such a solution. Now let's go even deeper into bioclimatic cellar. This is a well-known concept for you. We have built hundreds of them in Afghanistan and Tajikistan. A great way of preserving agro-produce for the farmers. In other words, extending their harvesting period. This is the one I use in Poland. It was built before electricity came to the village. And my wife uses this one, she uses it for maturing her cheeses. She's a cheesemaker. And her cheeses are appreciated by customers not only because of their great taste and interesting external look, but also because people are becoming more and more aware of overconsumption of energy and natural resources, and they value such products more than the one manufactured in a high-tech way. Let's hope that this way of thinking will become more mainstream, and we will be more resourceful again, like our ancestors. Passive energy solutions have potential for widespread application. They can bring benefits for everyone, including the poor. And this is what builds ultimate resilience of our society, not money and high-tech available only to some of us. Thank you.